But it goes back to what the scripture says. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. Night and morning, it may not always be the same day.
Right.
Sometimes it might be that period of time where God just has to move. You know what I mean? And I look at my state is like if we use a story of when the children of Israel left Egypt and they were going into the promised land, they had that stage where the children of Israel is running behind them, and God, the Egyptians are running behind the children of Israel, and God puts this smoke screen, right? And he puts a smoke screen up only to allow God to send this wind throughout the night. That's the one thing we miss. It says throughout the night. It didn't happen right away. Throughout the night, so that they can walk on dry land. And so when I look at that, because I was in prayer the other day, I'm like, God, I said, give me a word, God. I said, give me a word. And God said, move forward. I said, okay, cool. So I began to think about that. I'm like, move forward, move forward.
Yeah.
Oh man, the children of Israel, they moved forward, but God began to put them God put them in a standstill to where they couldn't do anything. They weren't in cement. They were in cement. They were stuck in a place where they couldn't move. They were sinking in quicksand, and they had all these waves rushing at them, right? Like maybe not physically and naturally, but like they probably felt like this, like, oh my God, everything is coming against me. But they were in peace. They were in peace. And that's where I've been. I have days where I'm crying and like weeping. I have happy moments. I have super duper sad moments the next moment, but I'm at peace. And that's why I haven't answered nobody. Like people have been hitting me up like, bro, you good? I'm not gonna answer you. Because at the same time, I want to release this too. And I'm like, hey, this is where we at, right? This is how we deal with this, right?
Yeah.
Because in the midst of all this, it really began to elevate too for me, especially in this season, was when I was starting to get to the sad moment, and then God was like, depression is the gateway to happiness.
Yeah.
People was like, what do you mean, man? I had to drop that video, right? I had to drop that quick video.
Yeah, you're one in on you. I was like, let me just sit back and watch.
I'm like, I'm gonna have to drop a video for this one, you know what I mean? And so, but it's a mentality, right? Like we can look at depression as it's our last resort. We can look at depression as this is where we're at. This is where we're always gonna be at. We have all these emotions going all over the place, right? Or we can look at it as, okay, this is where I'm at. And I have to be honest with that, right? Because like no disrespect, it's public information. But somebody came to me, it's like, try Jesus, he gonna fix everything. I said, hold on. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you not realize that the majority of people in the Bible and in the scriptures have been through depression?
Right.
We don't talk about that in the church. That's not something that's being talked about. I said, and the reality is a lot of people they're leaving, not just because of unsound doctrine, but they're leaving because this joy that we're speaking about and that we're supposed to have, they don't have, and they're doing everything that we're being told to do. And they said, I concur. I said, I appreciate that. I said, but the reality is this has to be talked about. But we don't talk about this is all this whirlwind that we're feeling, this depression. If we're not putting a name on it, how do we know how to deal with it and attack it and keep our peace in the midst of that? You know what I mean? Like how do we keep our smile? How do we keep our laughter? How do we keep that joy? How do we keep that joy? You know what I mean? Because you could just say you're supposed to have joy, but how do you keep that joy when all this stuff is going on? Right? You understand it. You have I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah.
But you have to have an understanding of what's really taking place. Yes, I'm sorrowful. I'm sorrowful. If I look at the majority of the Psalms, they're all talking about sorrow and a heavy heart. That's depression. Yeah. That is stress. That is depression. Like that is the definition of depression: grief, guilt, denial. Like these are all the symptoms of depression, and it's red. We read it all the time, but we dismiss it. we dismiss it. It's like God gonna
We
fix it.
run to the happy part of the scriptures. We run to the happy David, well, I was glad when they said unto me, he talks about the gloomy of his days, but then you go straight to the happy becomes more loud than the I'm having to work my way through this. What does this look like?
Come on here.
If he is there, then what did he have to go through to get to his happy place? Yes, his mind was made on Jesus, but at the same token, like, he fasted so long till they couldn't even recognize him. That was a whole lot of fasting.
Yeah.
There was a time where he said they laugh at me. I'm unrecognizable because he was in this state of depression because he had the enemies against him. He was going through stuff in his home and all these A, B, and C. That was a long time. But we look at it because we're able to read the scriptures and look at the end of, but David said, this is the whatever, the happy, but look at the length of time he went through his state to where, even when his child, they wanted him to eat. And they, but he fasted, he mourned, and the child was, alive. But, and so it's just like, you skip to the more glamorous part of it without taking a deep dive into the process of getting to the glamour. You can't put a band-aid. It's like rush through all that. We don't want to deal with that because we don't know how to.
And that's what I was doing.
Yeah. And you're learning how to sit in it and know what it sounds like, what it feels like, what Benedict states look like, but how God can keep you in perfect peace if your mind is stayed on him, because you said, yet and still I'm praying about it. So it's like, I can't be at war. I can't have, but as long as I'm understanding the process, I'm able to, it's a holistic approach, the total, because your everything is affected when you are dealing with, if your soul is affected, if you're feeling low self-esteem because of what everybody else is saying. And I'm already dealing with my own insecurities. On top of that, now my mind is being affected. I can't think properly. Now the chemical imbalance is going on because I'm not clearly. So I'm depressed. We're not dealing with it. David was depressed. Mm-hmm. He wasn't eating. He lost a whole lot of weight. So don't gloss, don't run through the end to the happy part. Jesus will work it out, but there's a process still that I'm having to go through until he works that out for me. What does that look like? And that's what you're doing now. You're explaining that. You're explaining what it looks like. You're in the midst of the storm, like being in the tornado. But in the midst of the tornado, they say the eye, there's peace in the eye of the tornado. Everything else look all chaotic and all those things. But it is, that word is true. He will keep you in perfect peace. They always say God may not deliver you out of the storm, but he can give you peace in the storm. So if y'all are sick, listen, somebody got to prove God right.
And here's the thing. What is peace? Let's talk about that, right? Because I've gotten a new relationship with peace.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
We're looking at peace as not chaotic. Mm-hmm. We're looking at peace as I'm good, right? You know what I mean? We're looking at peace as
serene, like
serene, right?
Like, this that
exactly. But let me go back to my post here for a second, right? I'm in cement, but I'm still standing. Mm-hmm. I'm in quicksand, but I'm not going under, right? The waves are rushing, but I'm still here and not being untouched by anything. And this reminds me of a dream I've had years ago. And it's a dream of a cat, right? A cat would attack me in my dreams, right?
Oh, wow.
Attack me in my dreams. But when I would look at myself, I had no marks. None. No marks. But this cat is attacking me, right? Whew. God is good, I promise you. So this cat's attacking me, but I don't have any marks. So is that not peace? Is it not peace to have an understanding of what's taking place? embracing what is taking place, because that's what we don't do. Because to embrace, I'll say this, to embrace what's taking place is hurtful. It's the opposite of what we embrace, which is joy and dancing and praising and shouting, right? Like it's the complete opposite of that. But I'm even reminded of bodily exercise profit little, but righteousness and holiness. Mm-hmm. When you look at that and you actually think about that, what does it mean to be righteous and holy?